A very warm welcome to you all to this edition of The Inside. I am Babla Jonathan. We're coming to you from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala. As Cameroon moves closer to the October 12, 2025 presidential election, we are looking at how the country can be taken out of its poor socio-economic situation, how Cameroonians can be delivered from the yoke of poverty, misery, hardship, and suffering. We're looking at how information and communication technologies can be used to step up economic development, the well-being of the nation and her people, and we are pulling the minds of Cameroonians to this, especially those who are going to be voting the next president of the country, the leader who will take care of the country, or who will lead the country, so to speak, for the next 7 years. They have to look out for this in order to make a good choice of an ICT-minded president who is going to bring up good policies, implement good policies for the development of the nation. It is, of course, one of the criteria put out by the Cameroon New Vision about the president that Cameroon needs at this point in time. Meet our guest in some few seconds. Our guest today is Professor Victor MBARIKA. He's an ICTs expert, chairperson of the ICT University, joining us from Yaoundé. Professor, you're welcome to the program.
Always my honor being right here at Equinoxe. Thank you for inviting me.
Begin by having your perspective of the fast pace at which the world is moving today in terms of technology, and everything seems to revolve around information and communication technologies, ICTs.
Oh yeah, it cuts across every sector of the economy. You cannot do much without some support from ICTs today. In fact, I was saying that even pastors and priests today, they use iPads to prepare their sermons, and they use AI to get ready to preach. Be it farming, be it politics. Now we have e-democracy, where people use ICTs to promote their candidacy for elections, or to promote their political parties around the world, or even just for citizens to have freedoms of speech without a tyrannic government identifying them. They can go online using aliases and nobody will know who they are, and they can speak out their mind, how they feel about their government anywhere in the world. I'm not talking here about Cameroon specifically, but just about anywhere in the world. We have cattlerears in Mali that take pictures and videos of their cows, send them to the markets. People can look at them and then decide, okay, I want that particular cow, instead of moving back and forth the market as cattlerears do typically. ICTs have changed that. So it's just so broad. I can spend 3 days just talking about this. It cuts across every sector of an economy.
Tell us about the impact of ICTs on productivity, both at the micro and macro levels.
And that's the amazing thing about ICTs, because before, back in the 80s, back even in the 90s and early 2000s, ICTs were largely made for the big companies, the IBMs, the Microsofts, for big governments and so on. And so it was focused on supporting organizations to be better. But now, ICTs have come down to the point of helping an individual human being live their lives a lot better. I own houses in different parts of the world. I can sit here and look at my houses in any part of the world I want to. I can sit here and start my car in the United States from here. I can start my a cyber truck. I own one of my cars is a cyber truck. I can sit here and determine what temperature I want on my cyber truck within the next 2 minutes, and it will set the truck to the temperature that I want. So it has now come to make our lives easier. I can set my coffee machine to produce coffee by the time I get home at 5 p.m. So it has now come to help us as individuals live lives a lot better and easier. Take even right here in Africa, many The average bayam seller has a smartphone they can use to advertise what they are selling. A lot of young ladies that may have gone to university and don't have jobs, they are now on WhatsApp, they are now on Facebook, selling clothing, selling shoes, and making a living. Even if they make just 100,000 a month, it's better than being unemployed. So it's really a big game changer.
And despite these advantages, ICTs seem not to be the priority of many companies in the developing nations of Africa. What is your understanding of this?
Oh, absolutely. Any company, organization that does not realize the power of ICT is going to go down if it's not yet down. Okay, I'll give you an example. Now you have Netflix all over the place. But do you know there were companies all over the world, especially in the developed world, that had these video shops where you go and rent video cassettes, where you went and rent DVDs, you went and rented CDs. Now those companies have almost disappeared. Now Netflix has taken over. You can now sit from your bed, click a few buttons, and you are signed into your account, and you can watch any movie you want, or Amazon movies, etc. It has now, some of those companies have literally closed down because they could not believe it, that there will be a day that they will not have customers to come in the shop to buy DVDs or video cassettes. But it is happening now, and because they did not have that foresight, they have fallen. Many other companies that sell books, bookshops, they have fallen now because it's place like Amazon, you could go there and order just about any book you want. And that's amazing. Many of these bookshops, these bookstores, they actually thought that they will last forever. Now what they have done is, a lot of them, in order not to die down, they literally create websites now and social media to sell their books. That is organization. Any government in the world that does not realize the power of ICTs will fail. How did Barack Obama come to power? Many people don't talk about it. Barack Obama came to power as American president by encouraging young people to contribute $10 online. Through contribution of $10, which is a very small amount of money, guess what? He was indirectly getting them to buy into his vision to become president. And those are the people that went out and voted for him big time. The little guy, the small guy, they are the ones, because they could afford $10 to give to his campaign online. They became committed that, oh, I've given my $10, so I'll go and vote. So giving them money was tied to going to vote. So even in politics and government, you cannot make it without the power of ICTs.
Now, there are worries about the adverse consequences of ICTs, like loss of jobs. What do you think about that?
You know, I supervised a PhD thesis, and the title was The Unintended Consequences of ICTs. Yes, ICTs come with very unintended consequences. In other words, ICTs have also come along with things that it was not originally intended for. And like you have rightly said, people use it now for prostitution. Girls use it to take their body, empty pictures, naked pictures, send them around to sell their bodies. People use it for propaganda. People use it to encourage violence. People use it for terrorism. People use it to promote all kinds of ills in society. And so you cannot, like we say, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. You know, with the coming of these technologies, equally bad people are using it to do bad things. But we can never, ever say because bad people can use these technologies for bad things, we should not be producing them. As an ICT professor, I encourage my computer engineers, my computer science students, like at ICT University, that they must not think about the society first. Create the best possible technology you can create. There are other groups of people that now will take the technology and make it fit for society. I know when a lot of people hear me, they will say, oh, we are making our students not fit in society. Everybody has their job. I, as a technology person, my goal is to create the best possible technology human brains can create. And then People in social sciences will now come in and say, okay, this is how we can use these technologies in the best possible ways. You're talking about cheating in class. Let me tell you something. On this my trip right here now in Cameroon, I brought a very special AI eyeglasses for a friend of mine. Those eyeglasses, a student can wear it, and you think it's just their lenses, and they can put all their answers going through that eyeglasses. You will not even know what is there. It comes also with sound right here that it can be reading them answers, right? So these technologies are out there. Our goal is to produce the best possible technologies available to man. You talked about another thing. Will it take away jobs? Absolutely, it would take away jobs, but it will create other types of jobs. For example, we are bringing at ICT University now the idea of robotics, artificial intelligence, in agriculture, where robots can clear a farm, robots can prepare and harvest and do many things in agriculture today. And you say, wait a minute, many people don't have jobs. Robots will take over their jobs. Well, you will still eventually need people that can service those robots. You need people that can repair those robots. You need people that can operate those robots. You need people that will go on the data side to provide data for those robots. In other words, people will have to retool. We have reached a point where information technology has come to stay. So people will have to retool, politicians will have to retool, companies will have to retool and retrain their workers in order to be ICT savvy.
You certainly tell us more about the use of ICTs in the agricultural domain. Of course, agriculture is the backbone of the economy of Cameroon and many other African nations. But first, you said politicians have to adapt to changing realities. How crucial is it for Cameroon to have a tech-minded, or better still, a more tech-minded president? Is it a quality, one of the qualities or skills that Cameroonians should be looking out for as they go to the polls to elect the president of the country on October 12, 2025?
Very impressed by the way Cameroon as a country has adapted a lot of ICTs. I know for a fact that to create a passport now in Cameroon, it takes like 3 or 4 days. But in America, it takes 4 to 6 weeks, normal processing. In America, you can process it the same day. That is called expedited processing. But in Cameroon, it's a regular thing that you can get in normal processing in 3 to 4 days. That is an amazing adoption of technology. Today, you can get your national ID card within 24 to 48 hours. Powerful adoption of ICTs. We are already experiencing ICTs in Cameroon. So I was told that the Ministry of Secondary Education now has it where parents can pay fees of students online. Things like that. I am very, very impressed by that. So yes, Cameroon needs to continue in this path of pushing ICTs. The government needs to continue in this path of pushing ICTs. As for selection of presidents or some of the politics behind it, I am an ICT person. I'm not the best political scientist, but the president of Cameroon right now, I was amazed to see that he uses Facebook, he uses X to broadcast things. Some people may say, oh, well, maybe somebody else is doing it for him. So what? I mean, the fact is that he is using these technologies. I am not the president, but I have many of my staff members doing things for me online, and people think it's me, because we can, as the president of a university, I can't do everything myself. So you look at the Prime Minister's office. The Prime Minister's office is using X all the time, using Facebook. These are amazing things. The Minister of Higher Education, Professor Jacques Famendongo, communicates with the community using a lot of Facebook power. And I'm very encouraging of this. It needs to continue, and I hope nobody comes and kills the momentum ICTs have taken up in Cameroon. I know many times people want to be negative about the fact that, oh, ICTs have not really come well into Africa. It's not true. We are really making good progress with the little we have, look at the slow bandwidth we have. And my problem is not even the government here. My issue is how can the internet service providers like MTN and Orange manage to charge people exorbitant amount of money and they can't get the connection to do the things they want to do. So I am more into the fact that businesses have not been responsible. You want to you buy data from MTN or Orange, it disappears within a short time. You cannot call their customer service and have it fixed easily. But they are still there. People have complained, but they are still there. I don't know why they have not been sanctioned, but they are still there. And so we need to have companies that are providing ICT resources to the country to be more responsible. I don't believe it's a government's role for that.
Do you think what the government of Cameroon through the Ministry of Post and Telecommunications is doing as of now with poor internet penetration and connectivity meets the speed at which the world is moving in terms of technology?
You'll be shocked by my answer. I think we have most of the technologies you could ever see anywhere in the world in ICTs. The issue comes back, and I know I can't talk about this without talking about my profession. The issue is training. People have not been trained how to maximize the power of what they have at their disposal. Today, people go and buy their already Cameroonians with iPhone 16, and when iPhone 17 comes out, I believe in 6 weeks, within 8 weeks from now, you will see Cameroonians with iPhone 17. But most Cameroonians have not even used the capabilities afforded by iPhone 11. There are phones today, and I love Equinoxe, I love CRTV, I love Canal, I love all these stations. But today, there are phones that can produce everything at a lower cost than all these expensive cameras that we have in studios today. There are technologies that can do it. It has come down and cheaper, and we have them here. But we need training. That's why, honestly, I had this dream, and I've implemented it, of training young Africans in the domain of ICTs how to make the best use of the technologies already with them. Look at this. I have to say this. Look at girls going around sleeping with different men. They will not ask a man for a laptop, but they'll ask for an iPhone. A laptop, you can get a good laptop for 150,000 francs. But they would rather have a rich tycoon sleeping with them to buy them an iPhone that will cost over 500,000, 600,000 francs. The issue is the lack of knowledge about what technologies can do for people. That laptop can produce that young lady way more money long term than just having a fancy phone to go around with. Again, it comes to education. And that is why I'm passionate about ICT education in Cameroon, in Africa, and in the developing world.
We're definitely going to come back to that shortly. But now we want to go to the newsstands, and we are looking at what the newspapers reported this week, the press review.
The Voice exclaims, stifled dissension, looming unrest, crisis group sounds an alarm on what it qualifies tainted Cameroon's presidential election, painting a bleak picture, citing the 42-year leadership of President Paul Biya and mounting frustrations. The Horizon reports Senator Henry Francis healing mission to Ouidekoum in the northwest region of Cameroon. The member of Cameroon's upper house of parliament held peace and ecumenical services in his native Ouidekoum in the crisis-stricken northwest region, taking out 8 separatist fighters out of the bush and also handing over 45 motorcycles to some young persons to empower them economically. The Guardian posts Kembele gold mining, government rules in favor of indigenous communities. The paper reports that the interim Minister of Mines, Industry and Technological Development, Professor Fukalistos Gentry, has declared the Kembele mining site in Baturi subdivision, Kadei division of the East region, a protected area. This is the substance of an order he signed establishing a protection and exclusion zone from research, industrial exploitation, and semi-mechanized artisanal exploitation for the benefit of the local artisans. Cameroon Tribune tells its readers that France has admitted crimes committed in Cameroon during the country's fight for independence. Another issue of Cameroon Tribune announces another population census, and as reported by Cameroon Insider, it emerged from an interministerial meeting chaired by Prime Minister Chief Dr. Joseph Jangote August 12 that preparations are far advanced in various dimensions for the dual activity.
Thank you for staying with us. We are still with our guest, Professor Victor MBARIKA, IT expert, chairperson of ICT University, joining us from the nation's political capital, Yaoundé. So, Professor, what is your perspective of the internet infrastructural challenges faced by Cameroon and other African nations?
I have an answer for that. It has a huge thing to do with policy. And if there is anything I can reproach most African governments, not just some, is the fact that most African governments have not held internet service providers accountable. I don't know if somebody somewhere is chopping money from these companies. I don't know. I don't have evidence. But the way these companies get away with the crime of taking the money of Cameroonians and Africans through phone connectivity that hardly works. I've been in Cameroon for about 2 weeks now. It's hard to make a regular phone call because the connectivity is very poor. But these are things that can be fixed by policy. What do I mean by policy? You see, I don't want to be too technical. With mobile phones, when a mobile tower is established, there is something called critical capacity and carried capacity. Think of a bottle, a 1 liter bottle. A 1 liter bottle can contain 1 liter of water or whatever drink you put in there. That is called the critical capacity of that bottle. But the carried capacity of that bottle is how much water is in it. Maybe it could be half, maybe it could be 1/4, maybe it could be 3/4. These phone towers are built to be at critical capacity, which means a particular phone tower can only take a certain number of phone calls at each moment. However, you can go out there right now and buy 1 million SIM cards. MTN and Orange will never refuse for you to buy a SIM card. But there must be government policy that is implemented to say, for you to add an additional 1,000 SIM cards, you need additional towers to increase your critical capacity. You cannot just keep selling SIM cards to the point where the lines are so saturated, nobody can make a phone call, but you are still charging. When you pick up the phone, hello, can you hear me? Oh, let me call you back. That 1 minute is charged already. You have not made a phone call. You put data, it disappears. These companies have to be held accountable. They have to be held accountable. And I'm really calling on African governments to look into this, because only government can solve that problem. That is where businesses are cheating the people and nothing is happening to them. You know, so in terms of infrastructure, are we there totally? No, we are not there, but we have something that can work. We have, for example, satellites that can provide good internet connectivity. It's existing. But I know some countries are rejecting the use of satellites. For example, Elon Musk's Starlink. I'm told that it's not legal to use it in Cameroon. Well, I don't know if I agree with that policy, because Starlink is providing better connectivity than any company in much of Africa can provide. So if we don't want to use Starlink, maybe we can start thinking about setting up our own satellites, which is one of the things we do at ICT University. We are working on nano satellites that eventually we should be able to own our own satellites in space. That will solve some of these problems. But right now, what we have, I would say, is still manageable. It's not something for us to give up. We can still work with what we have in hand.
Now, about Sterling, the authorities are saying that they are scrutinizing the file of the company in order to protect the national telecommunications company Camtel, in order to ensure that it does not face unfair competition, and also to protect the nation from security issues. Now, about infrastructure, Camtel is the lone supplier of fiber optics in Cameroon as of now. Will it not be profitable to open up the sector to competition?
Yeah, be very, very careful when you say that Camtel is the sole provider. That's true. But when you talk about the fiber optic cables, the undersea cable, of which Cameroon has access, I'm not sure if you are aware of this, but it has not really been maximized in the case of Cameroon. Cameroon does not rank very well as to maximizing that particular connectivity inland. I don't know the reason. I'm not blaming anybody, but we are still really at the bottom in terms of maximizing the use of that undersea cable. See, my opinion about this, I'm very, very familiar with the monopoly of Camtel in providing fiber optic connectivity. I wrote about this in my first book. After my PhD, I wrote like a prophet. It is very difficult for a government to totally run the provision of telecommunication lines. It's very hard. In fact, I truly believe that it is to the advantage of the government, it's to the advantage of Camtel to have multiple suppliers of fiber optics in the nation. It will help them. That competition will help for better service provision. Because if you don't have real competition, if you are working like Camtel, which I assume, whether or not Camtel makes a profit, the government will subsidize Camtel, it is very difficult. It's human. If you have things given to you, it's just human that you may not necessarily want to work as hard as if you had to compete equally on an equal playing field with other companies. I am of the opinion that should be open to other businesses. And I know when I say this as an ICT businessman, people would think we want to get into that business and profit from it. But the reality is, without competition, see, we're going to have a really difficult time improving the state of our telecommunications, not just in Cameroon, but throughout sub-Saharan Africa. Many sub-Saharan African governments still control the provision of their telecom lines. And I know that has something to do also with security. I would not blame these governments, because sometimes if they leave it too liberal, people can misuse it. But I think the government can open that market, but still find some ways to control it through telecommunications policy regulations, to control how these lines, these fiber optic lines, and by the way, not just only fiber optic lines, I want to open it, any kind of supply of connectivity, which could also be satellites and other things, the government can find a way to put laws and regulate these organizations so they use it for the rightful purposes. But there is no doubt, I will say it emphatically, Camtel can only sit up if there is competition.
Let's take interviews of the week right now, and we'll be back in a moment.
We, the people, we would say the opposition to come together and choose one good candidate to be able to face President Paul Biya and take him out of the seat, take the power and use it to solve the problems of the nation. Remember, I'm saying solve the problems of the nation. So what do Cameroonians want? Cameroonians want, all of them, that their problems be solved, entre. So they are saying, put up one good candidate who will be able to beat President Paul Biya at it, take the power so that we can solve the problems the way we want. That's what people want. And the question, and everybody is like, why is the opposition finding it so difficult to just see this basic thing and come together and put up one candidate? There are 3 or 4 problems to that. When we now go choose of those that have the parties. From the other side, as the population, will be insulting them and saying, you must do it, and it looks reasonable. But let's go on the side of the political parties and try to examine why they are having so much difficulties trying to understand this basic thing. The first and most important thing is this. Number one, when the council and parliamentary elections were shifted, when the date was shifted, so that they come after the presidential election, it creates a lot of problems for everybody. It creates problems of strategies. If those elections, if parliamentary and council elections had come before the presidential elections, it would have been easy for these political parties to come together. But now, because these very crucial elections, which are actually a ruler, a barometer, or a thermometer to measure the strength and weight of any political party, because it is coming after the presidential elections, it makes it so difficult for political parties to be able to give up their sovereignty or their power, so to speak, to another candidate, because by so doing, they are selling the only goods that they've got. They are giving away the only power they have and showing someone else who is someone who is not them. So by virtue of that, when these other elections will come around, it would have been like, take a party like the SDF. If the SDF were to point at someone else, then people will be seeing that other party that the SDF pointed to as the strongman, and so SDF will be the loser. That's the first most important thing. We are saying that by joining the opposition, by joining and having only one candidate, opposition parties will be giving away their currency. They will be giving away their strength at a very crucial time. It's like giving them a rope to hang on. The second thing that we have to realize is that when these parties give away their power, so to speak, they find it very difficult because they have different kinds of programs. They are all very selfish people, thinking only of themselves. So coming together to agree on how they will work is not possible. And the third thing that everybody must keep in mind is they can come together as much as they want. It will be very difficult to take out President Paul Biya. President Paul Biya is certainly going to win. And what is the point giving of your power so much and taking so much risk when President Paul Biya will win? You would have given away, you would have bargained for something that doesn't bring you anything. So when they are seeing that President Paul Biya would win because he has an 80% chance of winning relative to the opposition with a 20% chance. If you now do your arithmetic and find out that the guy has an 80% chance of winning, then it doesn't make sense to give away your power. So this is really troubling them. And the fourth thing is, you know, the 30 million that they put on the table to be able to be accepted as candidates. When you form that coalition, everybody that forms that coalition loses the 30 million. And whether there are 12 or 13 of them, all those 30 millions will go, and only the 30 million that goes to the guy who is leading as the presidential candidate will be reimbursed.
Dr. Nick Nkwanyama analyzing the difficulties in bringing the opposition together in a common front to unseat the more than 4-decade-old Biya regime in Cameroon. Now, Professor Victor MBARIKA, let's talk about training because human resource constitute an important part of the whole issue about using ICT for development, or stepping up the use of ICT in Cameroon and other developing countries of Africa. I know that you're already bringing in your contribution with the ICT university, but what is needed to upgrade, to step up and train more experts in Cameroon?
Absolutely, this is one of the best questions you've asked me. We have the ability, we are training young people are creating robots, they're creating AI tools right here, right now in Yaoundé at ICT University. It is happening. The state universities can do the same, but the resources are needed for these state universities to be able to have the technologies to train. They are not cheap. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars getting equipment to train our students at ICT University to build robots, to build AI tools, etc. The labs are very expensive to set up. And sometimes that may not be within the budget of the government to fund public institutions like public universities for that. I would love to collaborate with public universities in Cameroon to help them set up laboratories in order to train young men and women at these universities to be the best in terms of creating these technologies and not just consuming it. Our young men and women at ICT University are doing amazing work and creating businesses out of their creations, out of what they have developed, and they're selling it all over the world, and they're making good money. These are young men and women from our university between the ages of 17 and 22. They're making a lot of money with what they're creating. We are the smartest people in the world. I really believe Cameroonians are the smartest and can learn fast. I'm not talking stories about something that can be done in the future. We are doing it right now, right here at the ICT University. So it can be done, but the state institutions will need the resources to do that. There is no other way this can work without the appropriate resources to develop human resources in the ICT domain. I'm not going to call the name of the university, but I think they have changed. I visited the computer science department of one university in Cameroon years back. And when they want to write computer programs, when they want to develop programs, they'll develop the programming code and so on. And the lecturer would take the code written on paper and mark it and give them a grade, without them running it through a compiler. A compiler is the software you use now to run that code to see if it works. I don't care how wonderful a professor you are, you cannot correct code by marking it on paper. It does not work that way. You need the computers, you need the compilers, so the students can run it and see if there is a mistake. Then you go and do some debugging. You go and fix the code until it works. No code, even if you are the Einstein of computer science, can be written and it's perfectly fine from the first development of the code. It takes several iterations to get to where you want to be. And so there is no way this can be done. And I wish I could be political or politically correct about it or try to sweet talk this thing. Our universities will get to nowhere if the resources are not there. And that may mean even charging some fee the students can pay, called a technology fee. But I know if the government tries to charge that today, students will go on strike. I cannot even mention this because young Cameroonians will be like, oh, Prof wants to increase our fees in schools. If the government does not have the resources, I think students can chip in. I think fees are 50,000 francs. Why not charge 5,000 francs additional for a technology fee? And I'm encouraging my young brothers and sisters in Cameroon universities not to strike if the government does something like that. It's for your good, to develop the laboratories needed for you to develop yourselves. Okay? I wanted to offer to do this, by the way, in my earlier days in Cameroon. And it was well received by the government. But that was the fear. What if that fee is put there? What will happen? Students may go and start breaking university windows.
Yeah, the problem is usually not only with the fees or the money that is requested by the government authorities or the government institutions, but the actual use of that money that is often subject to corruption, embezzlement, and mismanagement. And that's where there's a bigger problem. Now, Prof, there is a real issue here about training. So there is a real problem of inadequate availability or lack of equipment in schools where pupils and students are trained in ICTs without computers.
Yeah.
Like that.
That's exactly what I was talking about. Yeah, you have to start it from the basic levels. My son started working on computers since he was 1 year old. My son taught himself how to, honestly, I can't give myself the credit for this. My son taught himself how to read at the age of 2, just clicking on his computer. He's now 19 years old. He taught himself a lot through his computer, through his iPad. I am not part of the government, but I'm part of the educational life of Cameroon and Africa and many African countries. I don't have the power to make policies, but I can tell you that with my knowledge and background, these laboratories should start from nursery school all the way to universities. Our children, young men and women in Cameroon have the ability to innovate in ways you cannot imagine. All they need is to be exposed. And that is what we've done at ICT University, exposing them to the kind of technologies they can teach themselves and create some amazing things that even me as president of the university, I have not done before. You know, so I really, in China, in Japan, they start these things from primary school, from nursery school. You start getting them in front of these systems. And I know some people in education and sociology, they'll be like, oh, Prof, those things have medical effects. I don't know. I think that's just innuendo. I've not seen kids having cancer because they were working on computers since their youth. And so we look for every excuse not to get them involved. You can't wait till they are in university before you start teaching them ICTs. It should start from the basic level. That's why my foundation I'm bringing in from the US will be launching what we call the ICT primary, ICT secondary, ICT high school, purely to get even the poorest of kids to be exposed. We are launching that project October of next year. The poorest of kids to be exposed from the time they are 2 years old. Children can program at 7, 8 years old, easily.
Yes, you're targeting the poorest of kids, but how affordable will education be in these schools that you're talking about? Because this is where there is often a problem in the poverty-stricken nations of Africa.
Businessmen have to do something, my dear brother. The businessmen have to do something. The government cannot do it all. I think our problem is that we are all trying to say that the government should put in money. The government should. And I wish most African governments would just come out honestly and say, see, we don't have the kind of money you, the citizens, are asking us. No government does. Some of the biggest businessmen in this country can invest in education as a foundation.
Now, in the same light, you've thrown out 1 trillion francs CFA challenge, the 200 Cameroonians. Tell us more about that.
Announced it sometime back that I will be investing 5 billion francs in the next 5 to 10 years for the economy of Cameroon in creating a major digital agriculture project where we'll give scholarships to a lot of young men and women to come and learn agriculture, ICTs in agriculture. They will come and use robotics, artificial intelligence to be able to do agriculture, to be able to practice agriculture, because many young people think agriculture is for poor people, but want to create millionaires and trillion and billionaires in this country through advanced technologies in agriculture. So I threw out that challenge because I've already started that investment. We've already started acquiring the machines, lands, etc. for that. Software, hardware, we already have started that. But what I was trying to say is that we should be very careful in this country when we talk negatively about the diaspora. I know there are some diasporans that don't love this country, there are diasporans who do not think anything good about this great country. But there are other diasporans that love this country absolutely. I want to see the best for this country, and that have money that can equally invest 5 billion in the next 10 years, which is like 500 million a year, $800,000 a year for the next 10 years. That will be equivalent, if we can get 200, that's 199 plus me, 200, to invest that kind of money. That would be a 1 trillion franc investment in the economy of Cameroon for the next 10 years. This country can never be the same. there is a fear that what if they invest their money, something will happen. I want to assure them that there are many diasporans that have invested in this country and succeeded. So they should not fear. There's a lot of rumors, there's a lot of bad information out there that, oh, the government will block you. See, I know that many people would like for me to sit here and say the government has been difficult to me. That's not true. I have had favors the government has done for me that was beyond my imagination, including importing some of our equipment here for ICTs that came in duty-free, just as the support of the government. And it's not like I knew a lot of people in the government when I started this. I hardly knew. I know many now, but back then I didn't really know many people. I just told them my vision, what I want to do, and they greatly supported me. So I'm telling my brothers and sisters in the diaspora that have the resources, and I know there are more than 1,000 Cameroonians out there that have that kind of money. There are millions of Cameroonians outside the country, but there are at least 1,000 Cameroonians that can invest 5 billion in the next 10 years, which is 500 million a year. They are there.
So what about the problem of dual and multiple nationality, which is still a hindrance to many Cameroonians in the diaspora? Should there not be a change of policy to enable them come in with this investment that you're talking about?
You know, like I said at the start of this interview, I'm one of the worst when it comes to even thinking about politics and policy and all that. To this day, I don't know why that has not happened. You know, it's like a no-brainer. Nigeria does it. Many African countries have opened up for dual nationality. It is not good if Cameroonians are coming and bringing their money from outside the country to invest in this country and have to wait to get a visa to enter their country of birth. Honestly, it's painful in the heart to have to obtain a visa to enter your country to invest. I'm told that maybe there's also a fear of diasporans abusing that and coming here to cause, I guess, political trouble. But I disagree with that, because many diasporans really love their country and just want to come here and invest. They are not interested in any minister's job. I mean, they're not interested in any director general's job. They are well-to-do, wealthy diasporans that want to come to their country and invest. I have some older Cameroonians in their 70s and 80s teaching online for free from the United States, from Europe, teaching at ICT University online because they love their country. But these people, they are retired, but they have money to invest, but they are not just informed. So if people like that want to come and you have to ask them for a visa to come to their country of birth, they already start telling them, oh my goodness, I'm not accepted in my own country. So imagine this scenario. I had a friend, a Cameroonian, that was coming to invest here. They landed at the Yaoundé airport. He landed with his student, that's a Nigerian, from the United States. Cameroonian professor, Nigerian student. When they landed, the Nigerian student was in front. True story, because I was present. The Nigerian student presented his Nigerian passport. He entered Cameroon freely. He stood on the other side waiting for his American professor. So that's a Cameroonian. As the man wanted to pass, they stopped him because there was something not right with his visa. They had to do some processing and so on before they let him in the country, and he was delayed at least 2 hours. The Nigerian student was laughing at him like, oh, I'm in your country before you, and you're bringing me, saying you're bringing me to your country for the first time. No, something must be done about the dual nationality. I think Cameroonians deserve that. Cameroonians in the diaspora, they deserve that at the very least. And let's not forget, if you can make Cameroonians in the diaspora have their children have Cameroonian nationality, my goodness, those are even the people that some of us are counting on to help build this nation long run, because there is a pride in them in knowing where they come from.
So in a nutshell, dual or multiple nationality should be accepted in Cameroon for all, and not just women married to foreign nationals.
Be accepted, and let's not pretend. So many people here in Cameroon are keeping dual nationalities, and they should just legalize it. They should make it law. I'm of that opinion that it should be made law.
So let's wrap up this edition of the program with ICT in agriculture. You already started talking about this. How can ICT be used to improve quantitative and qualitative agricultural productivity in Cameroon?
Why do the young people not want to do agriculture? Because they always think of agriculture like farming. They've seen their parents use hoes and machetes to do agriculture and produce just enough to live at subsistence. And so to them, it's not attractive. In fact, growing up, when you told somebody your father is a farmer, it was an insult. It could cause a fight in primary school because farming was looked at something for poor people. How can you get young people attracted to the field of agriculture, like genuinely attracted? We want to use ICTs, robotics, artificial intelligence, to train them on modern methods of farming that require less muscles, but more head knowledge, more smartness, in order to get the biggest and largest yields. And so that is where we are putting in this 5 billion in order to create agricultural opportunities for 10,000 youths for the next 10 years. 10,000 youths, and we will make it happen. We have just reached an agreement, signed an agreement with the government of Brazil through Lavras University in Brazil. Lavras University will be working with us. They are a huge agricultural university in helping us acquire some of the equipment. We are buying the equipment through the government of through Brazil, but on condition that they come and train Cameroonians to operate them, to maintain them, etc. And we are working with some new scholars from Polytechnic to be able to manufacture parts of this equipment. So that if we go back, we can manufacture and put there. So the reality is these are the things that we want to use to attract young men and women in the field of agriculture, making agriculture very attractive to them and building agriculture businesses through that. And when we say agriculture, we're not talking crop production and export. We are talking about transformation where the products can leave from here to shops in Cameroon and abroad, where packaging can be done nicely. That is creation of many, many sectors of the agriculture industry. And like I said at some point in this interview, we are already getting the support of the government. We have negotiated and about to get 1,200 hectares of land in Tibati and some other parts of Cameroon to create this environment where 10,000 young people will either get agriculture jobs or become agricultural entrepreneurs. Another target which I have, I come from those regions, but I don't know much about them. I come from Northwest. I've hardly lived there. I don't know much about it, but that's where my parents come from. And I have a goal to ensure that the Northwest and Southwest regions, out of that 10,000, will bring about 2,000 or 2,000 to 4,000 youths from those regions to train them in this, so that they know that there's another pathway other than being involved in this nonsensical war going on in those regions.
Right. And now, some of the young people listening to you now will be asking how they can be part of this project, how they can benefit from this project.
Absolutely. It's simply to contact the ICT University, go to our website, apply for the bachelor's, master's, or master's program in what we call e-agriculture, digital agriculture, ICT in agriculture. All that is already on the website. Contact our staff, the phone numbers are there, and much of this is philanthropic. This is not something we are doing to make money. We want to get some of the poorest students from villages to come and learn new techniques in agriculture. And so we are very, very excited about this. We are launching it in October this year, in the next 2 months. We are going full swing. The team from Brazil will be here during the launching in October, and we are not stopping.
And that's it for today's edition of The Insight. Thank you very much, Professor, for your time and the insights you've shared with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, ladies and gentlemen, for staying with us. God bless Cameroon. Goodbye.